Power doesn't corrupt you, it reveals you. Hello, curious minds, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into one of humanity's oldest and most fascinating questions. Does power turn us into monsters, or does it simply unmask the monsters we already were? I promise you, by the end of this journey, you'll never see your boss, politicians, or even yourself in the same way again. You've probably heard that famous saying 1,000 times, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's the most popular idea on the subject. We think of a tyrannical king, a ruthless CEO, and we assume it was the position, the throne that rotted them from the inside. It's a comfortable, almost reassuring idea. And we see it in small ways every day, don't we? That coworker who was just another friend until they get promoted to supervisor and suddenly act like they don't know you. Or that person in the homeowners association who, upon being elected president, starts speaking with an air of authority you've never seen before. Power, no matter how small, seems to change the rules of the game. But this obsession with power is hardly a modern invention. Think of it as a story that began thousands of years ago. In our ancient tribes, the individual with the most power, the leader, controlled access to food, to the best shelters, to the group's safety. Having power wasn't a luxury, it was the difference between survival and death. It's hardwired into our DNA. All of this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's what we all see and talk about. But if this is what's floating on the surface, what secret engines are driving it from below? What's hidden in the depths of human psychology when someone gets a dose of power? And here comes the first major revelation, the one that changes everything. Fascinating studies in social psychology suggest that power doesn't corrupt, it disinhibits. What does this mean? It means power doesn't put bad ideas into your head. Rather, it acts as a green light for the ideas you already had. It's the permission you give yourself to act as you truly want without the fear of what others will think. And understanding this is an incredible tool. On one hand, it allows you to spot opportunities. If you see a genuinely good and empathetic person get promoted, you can expect them to use their newfound freedom to do positive things. But, and this is crucial, it also helps you spot red flags. If someone already shows small, selfish, or cruel tendencies and they're suddenly given power, be careful. That power won't change them. It will only amplify what was already there. Power is a megaphone for your true character. There's a sort of invisible rule in all of this, which psychologist Dache Keltner calls the power paradox. To gain power, you often need to be socially intelligent, collaborative, generous, empathetic. People give you power because they trust you. But paradoxically, once you have power, those very qualities are the first to start disappearing. It's as if the prize for being good puts you at risk of no longer being good. This connects directly to a design flaw in our brain called the overconfidence bias. When we're successful or powerful, our brain tends to believe we're smarter, more capable, and more correct than we actually are. To counteract this, it's not enough to just try to be humble. You need an active strategy, like structural humility. What's that? It's creating systems around you that force you to be humble. Surround yourself with people who aren't afraid to tell you you're wrong, actively seek out opposing viewpoints, or even schedule meetings where your only job is to listen, not to speak. The ancient Romans had an incredible custom. When a victorious general paraded through Rome in his greatest moment of glory, a slave would stand behind him in the chariot and whisper in his ear over and over, "Memento mori," which means, remember, you are mortal. The lesson for us today is that we all need a memento mori in our lives. An honest friend, a personal journal, a meditation practice, something to remind us in our moments of success that we are still human and fallible. If all this teaches us anything, it's this fundamental principle. Power is an amplifier, not a transformer. Therefore, the key question we should ask isn't what will power do to this person, but a much deeper one. Who is this person right now before they have it? The answer lies there in the now. It seems like we have a pretty clear map, right? Power as a revealer, not a creator, a tool that shows what's already inside. But if you thought we had it all figured out, get ready, because this is where the story descends into true chaos. The first major controversy is the eternal struggle. Are we born with a desire for power, or do we learn it? On one hand, biologists point to hormones like testosterone and reward circuits in the brain that are activated by dominance. For them, what's at stake is accepting that there's a biological basis, a predisposition. On the other hand, sociologists argue that our cultures, especially capitalist and competitive ones, teach us to desire power. For them, what's at stake is the possibility of building more egalitarian societies by changing the systems, not the biology. And this brings us to a myth we love, the idea of the born leader. Why are we so fascinated by it? Because it simplifies the world. It's easier to believe that certain people are destined to lead than to accept that leadership is a complex set of skills that anyone could or should learn. Believing in the born leader allows us to give up our own responsibility and just follow. Here's a paradox that will blow your mind, the benevolent power dilemma. Imagine you want to solve a huge problem like poverty. To do so, you need to accumulate an immense amount of power and influence. But the very act of accumulating that power exposes you to the risk of becoming disconnected, arrogant, and selfish, precisely the qualities that caused the problem you wanted to solve. Is it ethical to seek power that could morally destroy you, even for the best of causes? Now, a critical viewpoint. We take the power structure at work for granted. There's a boss, and then there's everyone else. We accept an autocracy, a one-person rule, in the place where we spend most of our adult lives. Yet we demand democracy in our countries. Why do we unquestioningly accept this lack of power and voice for 8 hours a day? It's an ethical objection to something we consider completely normal. Think about another controversy: political dynasties, families where power is passed from parent to child. Decades ago, the debate centered on whether the son or daughter had the right experience or lineage. Today, the conversation has completely changed. Now we debate privilege, inequality of opportunity, and whether it's fair for someone to have such disproportionate access to power just because of their last name. Ultimately, all of this connects to the human condition in a very profound way. Some thinkers, like anthropologist Ernest Becker, suggest that our quest for power, for leaving a legacy, for being remembered, is actually a way of fighting against our deepest terror, the fear of death and oblivion. Power offers us an illusion of immortality. As you can see, reality is a tangle of biology, psychology, culture, and dilemmas with no easy answers. You've survived the chaos. Now it's time to look at the finer details, the ones that separate the curious from the true connoisseurs. Here's an expert-level concept: the power mirror effect. Social psychology research has found that power doesn't just change how you see others, it changes how you see yourself. People in positions of power tend to take credit for positive outcomes, even when they were due to pure luck. They start to believe their own hype. Let's talk about the brain. Neuroscience studies suggest that power can affect the neural network responsible for empathy. The best analogy is this: imagine your brain has a special antenna for picking up others' emotions. Power acts like static interference that turns down the volume on that antenna. It's not that you become deaf to others' feelings, but the signal comes in much weaker, and you need to make a conscious effort to tune in. There's a secret hero in the study of power, and he's not a scientist. His name is Robert Caro, a biographer who has dedicated more than 40 years of his life to studying a single man, American President Lyndon B. Johnson. His work is arguably the deepest and most detailed analysis ever written on how power is obtained, used, and abused, and how it reveals every last corner of a person's character. Now, for a rebellious countercurrent theory, we usually think that the most competent people are the ones who rise to power. But what if it's the other way around? The submission selection theory proposes that many power systems don't reward competence, but obedience to the one already at the top. You get promoted not for being the best, but for being the most loyal to the existing system. There's a detail from scientific research that flies in the face of our intuition. In a famous experiment, groups of 3 people were formed and one was randomly appointed as the leader. Then a plate with 4 cookies was brought in. The result? The randomly assigned leader was overwhelmingly more likely to take the 4th cookie and eat it carelessly with their mouth open. This is incredible because the power was completely fake and insignificant, yet it still changed their behavior. Our intuition tells us that only great power corrupts, but science shows that just a little taste is enough. And now the aha moment. If we connect all the pieces we've seen, the disinhibition, the fading empathy, the overconfidence, they all point to one central mechanism. Power causes a fundamental shift in our focus of attention. We go from thinking about us to thinking about me. Our goals, our needs, and our perspectives become, in our minds, the most important things in the universe. That's the big switch. With this level of detail, the picture is much clearer, isn't it? Power isn't some mystical force. It's a phenomenon with measurable causes and consequences in our biology and psychology. We've reached the edge of what is known. Do you dare to look towards the final frontier, the one of speculation and wonder? Imagine the world 100 years from now. With neurotechnology and artificial intelligence, could we create ethical power systems? Think of leaders with sensors that alert them when their empathy levels drop, or an AI that analyzes political decisions to detect power-induced biases, a sort of technological memento mori. And this is where science hits a wall and philosophy must take over. Science can explain how power reveals our character, but it can't tell us what our true self is. Are you more you when you're under social constraints and expectations, or are you more you when power frees you from them? It's a question with no scientific answer. Consider a dizzying implication. If power simply reveals a self that was already there, just waiting for the right conditions to emerge, what does that say about our free will? Maybe our personality isn't something we build day by day, but a program that's already written and just needs the right circumstances to run. The idea that we're not as in control as we think is overwhelming. Now let's connect this to the future of humanity. The greatest challenges we face, climate change, pandemics, inequality, require unprecedented global cooperation, yet our psychology of power, inherited from our tribal past and focused on dominance and competition, is the biggest obstacle. Learning to manage our relationship with power isn't just a matter of personal improvement, it could be the key to our species' survival. And here, the most provocative idea of all. Maybe the ultimate goal isn't to find the right people to give power to. Maybe the real utopia, the true solution, is to design social and technological systems where power, as we know it, simply is no longer necessary. And here, our journey comes to a stop. We've gone from a common saying to the very edge of philosophy and the future. Now, let's take a step back and behold the incredible, complete picture. At the beginning of this journey, we started with a very simple idea, a phrase we all know and repeat: power corrupts. And look where we are now. We're questioning whether our true self is the one that's restrained or the one that's free, and speculating whether the future of humanity depends on making the very concept of power obsolete. We've gone from a popular saying to an existential abyss. That, my friends, is the true and exciting adventure of knowledge. Of everything we've explored, of all the ideas, experiments, and dilemmas, what piece of this enormous puzzle struck you the most? What's going to be echoing in your mind tomorrow when you go to work? I would genuinely love to read your thoughts in the comments. This is the kind of conversation that enriches us all. Thank you for dedicating your time, your attention, and your mind to this journey. If you're fascinated by these deep dives into life's big questions, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this is just the beginning. There's a whole universe of ideas waiting for us. Until next time, keep asking questions. Keep questioning everything. Because in the end, the most important question isn't what you would do with power, but what it's already doing to you.